Hey, it's Jordan Sheridan. I am here in Flint, Michigan, where we've been for the last few days. We are here because we just published a pretty major story from our reporting over the summer. Over the summer, we were here in Flint because we got a tip that some of the homes here that were tested for water had actually been tested the wrong way because the state of Michigan, surprise, the state of Michigan, the same state, same environmental agency that caused the Flint water crisis in the first place, they had sent officials to people's homes. In some cases, those officials had gone into those homes and they had let the water run, in some cases we found for 10 to 15 minutes before collecting samples. Those samples were looking for lead. We also found cases where the state officials had told residents to do that, to let the water run before taking the samples. That might not sound like anything to you, but as far as trying to test and get reliable, credible data on whether the lead levels are decreasing in Flint or anywhere else, when you run the water, even for 30 seconds, you are flushing out potentially large quantities of lead. So whatever the test comes back, it is basically a false number. So we knocked on 400 doors, Jen and I, who's off camera, and we found that they did this in at least 31 homes. Many of those homes, the state officials from the Department of Environmental Quality or a program called CORE. CORE was basically Flint residents that were hired by the state environmental agency. Those residents didn't have like formal training in water testing. They were trained by the state environmental agency. They went around to people's homes to make sure people had water filters, to make sure those water filters were applied correctly, to make sure people had the resources they need because of this crisis. Well, those CORE officials, along with the environmental officials, were basically testing the wrong way, which leads one to think, what are the real lead levels in Flint and how far spread was this improper testing? Our story has the EPA on the record. We have Mayor Karen Weaver on the record, Congressman Dan Kildee on the record, Erin Brockovich, who's people know Erin Brockovich, and a lot of other people on the record. Karen, you're one of the homes we came to. You've been here since 1970.
In this house.
So before we get to what happened, tell me, you're a Flintstone, as you said.
Yes.
And obviously the state for 18 months told you guys, don't believe don't believe the hair you're seeing coming off, don't believe your rashes, don't believe your nosebleeds, there's no problem. They only acknowledged that something was going on basically when there was public pressure from politicians, when the media started paying attention. So did you believe in April when the governor said, yeah, the water is back to normal, we're shutting down the water pods, which were stations around Flint? Did you believe that?
I didn't believe it, still don't believe it. The governor needs to be in jail. That's my belief. Instead of walking, or no, don't put him in jail. He needs to come to Flint, get in a tent, and live like we've been living since 14. That's what he needs to, and bring his family. And not be able to use hot water unless he builds a fire and warm it. That's the way I feel about it. And everybody that's been in Lansing with him covering this up shouldn't just go and be questioned when they want to be questioned or when they want to show up. It should be mandatory. Mm-hmm. You know what? Actually, they should come live in my house. Since the water, I've lost a hot water heater. I've had to replace things that were in my basement. I have nothing in my basement that's usable, and I am still cleaning up. Everything I have on my main floor is what I own. It's what I could salvage, which isn't very much. Then I'm using my budget for my home to buy water. Since the water, my kidneys are failing worse. I can only use a certain kind of water, which is spring water. They no longer deliver water to us. They said, oh, well, we're going to put you on this delivery service. Churches were delivering. All of a sudden, water is so good now you can use it as long as you have filters. Still can't use hot water. You had to replace the hot water heater, but you still can't use the new hot water heater. And it's awful. We are now buying water. I have a car that I can no longer use. My car tore up toting water. Who's going to replace my car? Who? And then they tell us, oh, well, we put chemicals in it. Who's going to replace the pipes in my house? You forgot about that. My washing machine, I can't use it. It's broke. Who's going to replace that? Everything now is on the homeowner. I didn't do this.
And I want to get to, our story. Basically, we talked to 140 residents in Flint, 140. And many of those residents, 31, confirmed for us that either officials came into their home and they did the test themselves for the residents, which we found out they were not even supposed to be doing that. The EPA told us the state was supposed to drop off test kits for the residents, and the residents were supposed to do the lead sampling, lead and copper sampling, that is. So right there, the state was improperly going into residents' homes, running their water before testing, which is a violation of something called the EPA's lead and copper rule. The EPA's lead and copper rule says that if you're testing for lead and that test is meant to meet the EPA's regulations, the water can't be used for at least 6 hours, and you have to take the sample right away. So you turn the tap on, put that bottle in right away. You don't let the water run at all. So in your case, the workers from the CORE program, which again, the CORE program was basically Flint residents. They were trained by the state environmental agency. Those people came here and they basically said, what, they're here to test your water?
They came, they said that we could test our water, but we had to let it sit overnight, let it run for a minute, then catch it, put paper stuff on it, rubber band it, and put it on the front porch or the step, and they would come by and pick it up. So they picked it up when they picked it up. It's out there 1 minute. It may sit out there today or tomorrow, and then they come back and get it. But it was no set time for them to pick it up. I hardly ever saw the same person twice. So I don't know what they did with my water.
And were you aware when they were telling you to let it run for a minute before you take it, that was the wrong way of doing it?
Yes, I went to school. I graduated Northwestern High School. So we did have biology and chemistry and all that. Yes, I knew it was wrong. So, but if that's what they say do, that's what you have to do until you can do better.
So does it surprise you that we found so many examples of them doing it this way? Because just so you're clear, by doing it that way, for all we know, if they did it the right way, the lead levels were getting lower. It's possible. But when you do it that way, even a minute can flush out very high levels of lead. So that lowers the levels that show up in your home and this person's home and that person's home. And then overall, the average for Flint that they use to say Flint's levels are back to normal are all of a sudden very low. So I would think that the CORE people were telling residents to do this, or in some cases we found that they went and tested for the residents because that's how they were trained to do it. That's what they were told to do. You would think that they just did what they were told. Do you think that the state environmental agency, their response to us and the governor's response to us was these residents are confused. They're confused at which agencies came to their homes, and they're confused at what kind of testing. Are you confused that they told you to let the water run first?
I'm not confused. I already knew. If the state has messed up our water, if the city of Flint has messed up our water, do we really believe that the city of Flint is going to test it and do right? I don't think so.
Well, this was the state testing.
Even the state, even that, I don't believe that they were going to do it right. Why wasn't it an independent company? Why wasn't it somebody out of California, somebody out of Texas, somebody somewhere else other than the state of Michigan doing it? You can't police your police. You got to have somebody else. That's why there's the FBI and all of the other people that police the police. No, I never believed it. I still don't believe it, and I still don't believe that the water is good. But here's the thing that nobody's thinking about. When they wanted to test the water, they didn't tell people not to do it through the filter. We had filters then too. So nobody told them not to use the filter. So if you turn the water on and the filter is on there and you're catching water, what are you doing? You're filtering the water.
And also, if you're not telling people to take the filter off and you're telling them to let the water run, there's no other word for it. That's cheating. Duh. You're not getting the real. you're not getting the real levels, how much lead is in someone's home. If you read our story, I think it's in the description under this video, a plumber basically said that a lot of the highest levels of lead were actually in people's internal plumbing, inside the fixtures in the home. So running it for that long, you're flushing that out. But that lead, you could flush it out and it produces a lower level on a test, but that lead just comes back. It doesn't just go away forever. It reforms. So you did this test because you were on the state Sentinel program. The state Sentinel program was basically a group of homes. It started at 650 homes that the state of Michigan chose to consistently be tested over a course of 2 years. And basically this was the focus group to see if overall Flint's lead levels were decreasing. So you did several rounds, I think like 5, and you did it the way they told you to, which was let it run for about a minute and you put it on the porch. We've heard people telling us that their water samples were left on their porch in some cases for a day or two before getting picked up, which obviously if especially the summer, that could dilute. So how did it go? You ran the water because they told you to, you left it outside. Did they pick it up same day? How did that work?
No, I put it out there. It was out there in the morning because you do it in the morning, and then it may be out there until late night. I don't know if they picked it up at night or if they picked it up the next morning before I got up. I don't know when they picked it up, but I have family members that did it and the water never got picked up.
Really?
Really.
So what happened? They just threw it out?
They just got tired of it sitting on the porch and they threw it away. But we had water that was brown, so I knew when they said the water was okay, it wasn't okay, it was brown. Brown water? Who wants to drink brown water? You don't drink brown water if you're dying in the desert. So, no, we knew better.
So common sense would dictate if you have officials going into certain homes and running the water first, if you have officials coming to homes and telling you to run the water, if you have residents putting out the samples on their porch and it never being picked up, this doesn't seem like a very thorough, accurate test or let's say citywide test. It seems like either through incompetence or ill intentions, they were doing it the wrong way. Erin Brockovich is quoted in our story, if one of the samples was done the wrong way, you have to assume they all were and toss them all out. And you said something that I've never said, but I've thought it. Why is the state who caused this the ones doing the testing? Don't they have kind of a motivation to kind of be done with this, to declare it? They don't live in Flint. These officials who were testing, they don't live in Flint. So you said you don't trust it. What are your thoughts? Do you think this was more spread out along Flint, the testing we found? I mean, we knocked on 400 doors, but there's 40,000 homes in Flint.
I think that everybody that's affiliated with the city of Flint knows who lives where. You can pull me up on the internet and you can tell who lives in my house. It almost gives our ages, and some things it will. And I believe that they targeted certain people, certain socioeconomic backgrounds. And you have a lot of people that are disabled in their homes, can't hardly get out. How are they going to get up and go test water? Come on. That's why maybe the core people got in. Maybe that's why the officials got in and was able to do that, because you have a lot of handicapped people because of the environment of Flint, because of the shops, the pollution, all that other good stuff. It's a lot of things that are against us. It's a lot of things that nobody's trying to think about or address. And now they want to put it all on us. No, I don't think they did a good job. I don't think they would have let it happen at their homes.